All right, welcome back to the Fireside Chats. Today we have Dr. Nick Delgado in the house. Dr. Nick Delgado is literally world famous. He's also one of the top anti-aging doctors in the country and probably even in the world. One of the smartest, most in-depth people I know in the topic of health, nutrition, fitness, overall life success. And this guy is one of the top learners I've ever met as well. Like his depth and breadth of study, going to seminars, listening to books, attending events, speaking at events, studying on his own. His library and just his own little personal office was massive. He's worked with some of the top people in the world, from the top fighters to the top actors to some of the top MMA fighters in the country and in the world. Like, it's a true honor to have Nick here today. Like, he's a guy that is truly impacting lives. He has a huge nutritional company called Delgado Protocol, and he's got thousands of videos literally out there right now that you can access on YouTube. Content on how to transform your life in massive ways to truly learn where are you at with your health and how are you going to transform your life. And so, Dr. Nick, thank you for coming down. It's been a journey together. It's an honor to have you, and thank you for being here, man. I appreciate it. So,
Troy Hoffman, it's a pleasure to be on your set, and you're one of my favorite guys because you're one of these people that's always looking for the best. And when I recognized that, I felt like I could just take the fire hose and stick it in, and you would just take it all in. And you do. You take it, and more importantly, you apply it. And then the results speak for itself. When we first met 7 years ago, you were at over 287 pounds. You've dropped 70 pounds, kept it off now for 7 years. I mean, that's tremendous. And I think that anyone who's out there recognizes that to really have a quality life, you have to be a peak performer. You have to understand maybe not the mechanism of biochemistry, but the steps that it requires. What's the timing of the foods? What types of foods? What supplements? How do you balance out your hormones? What do you do with your thoughts? I mean, there's so much involved, even your sleep patterns. So I think that's something that I've mastered. Fortunately, working with Tony Robbins, one of the great mastery teachers when I was his Mastery University teacher. Back in 1994, you'll see videos with me at UC Bren Center, and I'm the only one on the stage with him. And there was 6,000 people in the audience. It's his big, huge opening. He flew in a helicopter, and he introduced me about 1 a.m. because he goes, literally all night at times. And I got to talk about certain things about health and anti-aging. So I supported his team for 2 years, showing up. 3 years, I guess it was, and we did microscopy, cellular health, measured everyone's lipids, cholesterol, triglycerides, glucose, and then we tied that into when they first arrived to the island in Hawaii or the Caribbean or wherever the event was, and then we retested them 10 days later, and we were able to document using my cookbook, Simply Healthy Cookbook, the foods that you eat, the exercise you do, the stress management that Tony taught. The compliance for his people was phenomenal and the results outstanding. I talked to people 20, 30 years later. You know Deborah Ferris, she was in the audience. I mean, there was people that I talked to today that our testing had an impact because seeing is believing. And when you see your cellular health under a microscope, it's an observation, it's not a diagnostic test. I can't promote it as such, but it gives you a pinpoint when you do the lipids at the same time, tie that into what you're doing, and in 10 days you can dramatically change one's health.
So let's bring it back to some basics here. Like your intelligence, Nick, is off the charts, right? So this is how Nick and I met. So first, literally we met about 20-something years ago. I saw him at a Tony Robbins event, and I knew who he was, kind of. I was a kid at the time. So I ran across Dr. Nick again. I met him at a conference that this girl, Nurka, was putting on, and she was one of the top salespeople for Tony Robbins and does a lot of these great events herself now. When I started working with Nick, I met him and I was like, Nick, man, I am tired. I am burnout. I barely can get out of bed every day. The doctors have said that I've literally have this thing where my adrenals aren't working anymore. And that's when I started working with Nick. And Nick's like, okay, let's try these products, let's try this, let's do this program. And I just went on this search with Nick, and Glenn Depke and this guy, another chiropractor here, trying all these different things. He had like these laser therapies. I was just all in because I didn't want to do what the medical community had told me. They wanted me to put on all these drugs and all these different things for the adrenals and everything else that was kind of going on at the time.
Yeah.
And I did not want to do that. So that was a journey that Nick and I went on, and I started on the products and literally started diving in, changing nutrition, changing the diet, trying to go a lot more like vegan in a lot of ways, trying to test different things to see how my body responded. And that was the beginning of this journey. And like, Nick, I kind of want to go back to there and like, let's talk real quick, like, why did you start this company in the first place? And why did you dive so deeply into health? Like, I want to go back to that real quick. And then from there, then we can talk about like why you're so passionate about impacting lives right now. Like, where did it all start for you? Like, because you changed my life. I mean, all the information, all the hours we spent, all the products, the discounts when I didn't even have money at the time, and I was just like struggling and trying to keep it all going, trying to get the company going, trying to move it all forward, and you were just there, man. So what drove you, man, like to do all this?
It started for me when realizing as a young man, I struggled with my weight. I was raised in what I thought was a healthy diet, and I avoided sugar and white flour, and I didn't use salt and different things. But somehow that diet that I wasn't very educated about, I just followed what doctors in the typical American diet for food groups, and yet I avoided, the junk food and so forth that I thought was junk food. And I ballooned up, I gained a lot of weight, but then at age 12, I needed to lose weight to play Pop Warner football. And all I knew was this fasting thing. So I just starved myself because that's what my coaches told me to do. And I lost the weight, but I remember when I lost the weight at the end of the season, I gained back the weight with a vengeance. And I gained it back because I was so starved, I felt so deprived that I never wanted to go on a diet ever again in my life. And so it kind of set the stage for kind of a mental block about controlling my eating, but for some reason I was eating out of control. When I'd eat large volumes, and I never felt satisfied, and I never understood why. And so when I reached college at USC, I wanted to play football, but I had a neck injury, so I didn't get to play. Yet I had ballooned up to over 210 pounds, and I'm only 5'8". But there was a Nick Bonacani for the Miami Dolphins, and he was a great middle linebacker, vicious, and I'm a vicious guy on the field, And so I gained the weight, but then I had no way to lose it because I wasn't playing ball anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I remember walking upstairs at USC, and I was out of breath, and I was like, God, this is weird. I'm out of breath because I'd no longer be training. And shortly after, I was invited to play in the Turkey Bowl with one of my buddies against the Pasadena Police. And at halftime, I had made some vicious hits, and I just fell to the ground. And I'm like, what happened? The whole side of my body was paralyzed. I couldn't get up. And I finally, pulled myself up, and I realized I had had a stroke. I went to see a doctor, Dr. Sonneborn in Arcadia, and he checked my blood pressure. It was through the roof. So he put me on blood pressure medications, and I was only in, basically just fresh out of high school and college, first year in college. But I had been on blood pressure medications actually back 4 years before, and I was getting side effects, and I didn't want to keep taking the medications. So I was watching 60 Minutes on television, and I saw this clip with Nathan Pritikin. And he was talking about helping these heart patients.
And this is Dr. Pritikin. He's got a clinic.
He wasn't a doctor.
Okay.
He was a scientist and researcher and engineer. He had several patents. He was in Santa Barbara at the time, and he moved to Santa Monica.
That's right.
And so I followed that program. I bought his book, Live Longer Now, and I followed it to a T. And I remember thinking, gosh, this program has the solution to high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, and everyone needs to know about it because in 5 months, I dropped 50 pounds on that program. And I went and had the opportunity to see Nathan Pritikin speak in Pasadena, California, and there was an audience of 600 people, and it was just life-changing because it was a 6-hour talk, and I hung on every word, and I listened to everything he said. I stood in line at the end to get his autograph and talk to him, and I was the very last person, and I listened as much as I could while he talked to each person.
And how old are you at this time?
At that time, I was 23, because at 22 I was massively obese essentially, and I had that TIA, small stroke, and I showed him a before-after picture of what his program had done for me, his Live Longer Now program, where I was really heavy, and then after I dropped 50 pounds in fabulous shape. And he looked at that and he looked at me and he said, wow, that's tremendous. How would you like to come work with me at the Pritikin Longevity Center? I'm like, oh my gosh, a chance of a lifetime. I was in physical therapy school, and I was at Rancho Los Amigos Physical Therapy, and I had 6 months into the program, and I stopped that program and I went to work with him in Santa Monica.
So you're 23 at the time.
Yes.
And how old are you now?
I'm at the time of this filming, I'm 63. I'll be 64 in January.
So this
January
is
5th, 2019.
40 years ago.
Yes.
So you have 40 years of in-depth, intense nutritional coaching and understanding and education at this point. Like, not a lot of people can say that. You know, I mean, there's not many people in the world and I've seen you. Like, I mean, the number of conferences you go to, the number of books you're reading, the number of books you're listening to. So Dr. Nick actually has 2 phones. He literally has he's listening to a book at double speed usually, 1.5 to double speed.
Yeah.
Right now. He's reading a book, he's writing a book, he'll be taking notes for a book,
yeah.
He'll be working on a product line, all at the same time. And people think he's crazy almost sometimes because he's so, and then at the same time he'll turn off, he'll hop on a camera in his suit, and he'll start teaching his content that he's putting together and posting videos everywhere. And this is a depth of study. I mean, this is what I've watched for 7, 8 years being around him. He'll hop on a call with somebody and dive deep into nutritional work with like people that are famous. I mean, literally famous people that I've watched Nick hop on a call with, work on the nutritional issues, go back to working out, listening to his book, and then we'll be back to working out together. I mean, it's like crazy. Plus, he's also going to ClickFunnels conferences and learning how to grow his business. He's going to entrepreneur conferences, and he voraciously takes notes. Voraciously is writing down information, taking notes on his phone, compiling stuff into books, and it's just like, the level of depth, and I can just imagine at this age, if you're living at that high level, what you were like at 23, how voracious you would have been back then at diving super deep into what makes our bodies work. So what happened when you went to the Pritikin universe, and you started working for him? Like,
Pritikin Longevity Center.
Yeah.
It was a tremendous opportunity because in those days, they had what I call the forerunner to lifestyle medicine anti-aging conferences. They would bring the top scientists from around the world and doctors and come to lecture us at big conferences. And I literally got a chance to hear word for word from some of the early pioneers and how do you deal with cancer, heart disease, diabetes, major killer diseases with the solutions and the evidence. And so I would get to talk to these doctors and educators after the conferences or during, at breaks. And I really had a chance because Nathan Pritikin himself was also wanting to know the truth about, you know, why did we have such an advanced culture in the United States, yet we are amongst the worst in the world in terms of premature aging from chronic disease. We rank 38th in the world in life expectancy past the age of 40. Now, if you look at childbirth, you know, compared to other countries, we have sanitary conditions at birth, so it's likely our children will make it through birth. But past the age of 40, when we compare to 60 other nations, ranking 38th for the last maybe 40 years, we haven't improved, we've only declined. I mean, there's countries in the world that are so backwards, they have no medical care, nothing, they're primitive, and yet they still outlive us in almost every case. There's even blue zones that people live incredibly long lives, again, with only herbs and, you know, healthy eating and positive mindset. And so we're kind of got to return to that, understand that. And my big turnaround was I thought I knew a lot about diet and nutrition and exercise and stress management because working with Pritikin was one of the great places to be at that time. And I worked with him for a solid 3-4 years, I believe it was. But on Thanksgiving 25 years ago, I had a rather tragic situation where the mother of my child, when Nicholas was born, my third child, at that time, actually it was my fourth child, at that time he was a healthy baby at birth, but Shelley, his mom, had hyperthyroidism. And there wasn't really much evidence about what do you do diet-wise about a thyroid disorder. And I remember taking her to the specialist after my son was born because she had headaches and swelling, and she's not the type to complain, and she was really having a hard time. And I thought, I need to take you to the specialist. And she says, no, I'm okay. I said, no, we need to go. So we went, and the specialist, the key one, wasn't there, and another doctor was on duty, and he said, her headaches, well, just give her aspirin, and her fluid retention, don't worry about it, just, she'll be fine, just take her home. So I did, and I was really concerned, so I had her mom fly in, and from Indiana, and I had a conference scheduled in San Francisco, so I didn't want to leave her alone, so I flew her up with me, and we came back together, and on Thanksgiving, I took her to her mom's, and they had a big Thanksgiving dinner. She called me up, and she said, Nick, I love you. I'm really tired. I feel really badly right now. And I'm like, wow, are you okay? And she says, no, I'm going to be okay. And then that morning, I got a call that she had been rushed to Hoag Hospital and died of congestive heart failure related to hyperthyroidism. Wow, and it was a tragic thing that happened to me. And I realized it was a humbling experience. It was a devastating experience, the love of my life.
The love of your life. I mean, I've heard you talk about this and so many times, man.
So it caused me to dive deep into.
And how old were you then?
At that time, that was 25 years ago, minus 63. So I was in my late 30s, and at that time, I was so devastated that I left the field of health, and I let my business go down. For a year, I took care of my baby, Nicholas, and I tried to figure out how to get him breast milk and feed him juices, and I didn't want to give him dairy product because at least I knew nutritionally that was important. And I remember taking him to doctor meetings in a bassinet, and I would have him feed him a little bottle, and they'd wonder, what's going on? I says, well, his mommy died, and I'm taking care of my son. But there was a period where my business just went to zero. I mean, I couldn't bring myself to do live talk shows. I was on Christian radio every day, and we had a big audience, and I just, for a year, I was devastated. And so it took that amount of time to kind of heal, and I actually went into media production, a company called Health Wellness Studio, where I was producing shows for doctors and clinics, and I felt comfortable with that because I didn't feel in my heart that in all integrity congruent with teaching people about health when I had lost Shelley. I felt that something had gone wrong, and how could I possibly have missed it? So that feeling of inadequacy led me to eventually, things kept coming up, and it drew me back into the field of health, and I thought, God, I really don't want to do this. And even though my business had gone to zero, and it was like, all the staff had been let go, and I paid them all off and closed the business, it was like starting at square zero. Everyone forgot me on radio. When I finally came on to do some meetings, people said, yeah, I used to listen to your dad, 20 years ago on radio. Now it's been 40 years, and he was really good on, and it wasn't my dad, it was me. Mm-hmm. And I said, I've decided to come back because I spent a 10-year hiatus to study about hormones and anti-aging.
So let's stop here for 1 second, guys. Catch this. This is the guy that spent years from 23 to 38 studying health, studying nutrition, like diving into the deepest of depth. Like really, and I'm sure at that point at 37, like he's like, oh, I've got this. Like, yeah. I'm sure you're like, oh, I understand this. And like, how many of us out there now have like actually read a ton about nutrition? We've gone to some seminars. We bought one course. We attended where we're learning about one diet program. Oh, we read Eat Right for Your Blood Type. We're learning about the keto diet right now, and that's the answer to everything. And also we get cocky and we're like, we have all the answers. How many of us think that we know everything about our health, everything about nutrition, and then we're getting cocky, right? I mean, think about how many people are out there. There's always another level, catch this too. And the more we dive into this, like it almost takes a tragic situation like that to open up the next layer, to expose like what else are the possibilities to go depth, because there's so much out there. And that's why getting information like this from a guy like this who's spent 40 years now diving into this, like his whole life has been dedicated to this, and then those tragic experiences that sometimes are crappy as hell in our lives are what drives us to find our purpose, drives us to go even deeper so we can impact more lives. So that's why we're doing this show, so we can share this information out, so we can impact your lives. Because there is so much out there in health and nutrition. There is so much out there that's why I'm trying to pull Nick in today. And so we can dive deep into this one topic to really show you that that don't get cocky. There's so much more. Don't get locked in your mind that this is the only answer, that this is the only way. There are many options, and finding the option that is right for you. Finding the perfect balance in your life at that time in your life is critical. Like, if you don't spend the time and energy and the money and the resources to solve where you're at today, like, you're going to let it go. And then who knows, are you going to be the one that's going to pass away on your loved ones? Are you going to be the one that stays healthy and is able to move on and take care of your family, take care of your friends, and take care of your companies, and take care of yourself so you can live the life that you're called to live? Like, this is so critical that you catch this today, that even though we can have all this knowledge, things can still go wrong. And so, Nick, what happened after she, like, what are some of the distinctions you were able to make after that, and how many years did it take you, even after you lost her, to finally start coming back together? Like, I mean, because when you go through these tragic events in your life, it really knocks the crap out of us, you know what I mean? And then to move our lives forward, like, how long did that period take, and what are some of the distinctions you made about and started making about health and nutrition? And then it's been almost another 25 years since then. So if you could share about that, that'd be great.
It probably, I thought I could master the understanding of hormonal imbalance and the biochemistry related to the optimum performance of a teenager, a young adult to a senior within 8 months. I figured that's reasonable. No, it took me 8 years. 8 years before sitting down with the masters in this subject, the top scientists in the world from all over the world. I got to sit down with Dr. Terry Hertog, whose father and father before him studied endocrinology, and the whole basis of Hertog syndrome and thyroid deficiency evolved, and adrenal deficiency. And then I started realizing, not only in myself, but many of my clients, just thinking back, wow, if I had known about this, that I could have helped them with these conditions, and maybe I could have saved Shelley's life. And I realized that was my calling. I had to step back up, and so I started getting invited to speak at medical conferences. So I tend to overcompensate and overstudy, and so I'd make sure I knew everything, because I knew I was going to be an audience of 100, 200, or 1,000 doctors in the audience. And you know, I'm a PhD, a health scientist, health educator, and Shelley had wanted me to go back and complete my PhD in health science. And I had my undergraduate degree from USC and my postgraduate degree in Loma Linda University. But I didn't complete the studies. I left to deal with this tragedy, and then I realized that I needed to go back, and Shelley was right, but I looked for universities. There was no one training this stuff, so I ended up taking an advanced training on complementary medicine, alternative health, and I mastered that subject, and then I went on to every anti-aging conference I could find, and since I got invited to speak at these conferences, not only with just Tony Robbins, but anti-aging conferences around the world, Japan, Germany, Berlin, London, India, China, everywhere in the world, they were thirsty for this information. South Africa, I was voted the best speaker of the conference. And so my talks, sometimes I remember there was a bombing in Indonesia, Bali area, and so the top speakers canceled. They didn't want to go, but I wanted to still go, so they gave me permission to use their slides, like Dr. Ron Rothenberg, UC San Diego professor, about talking about human growth hormone. I had already amassed 60 slides. I took his 60 slides, created a 120-slide PowerPoint presentation, and the doctors in the audience who knew his talk had never seen my talk and said, wow, that was the most in-depth, most detailed discussion about human growth hormone, growth factors, and that was back in 2006.
So you started diving into HGH, you started diving into hormones, you started diving into what other like key point distinctions for people, like a lot of people watching today are going to be the non-medical experts probably. They're entrepreneurs, they're friends of ours, they're people that have families and kids, and people that are trying to build businesses, or people that are literally just trying to like live life, that are just connected to us in some way, shape, or form. Like, what were some of the clear, specific, simple distinctions that you started making that you could share today with the audience out there, actually, Nick?
Well, one of the most important distinctions was I realized there's over 27 different hormones and hormone metabolites that exert a tremendous effect on your body, your mind, your performance, and whether you live or die, literally. And so I realized that blood tests fall short. Blood tests are important because there are certain things in blood that you have to measure, but most every doctor uses that as a standard. But in Europe, where the whole evolution of understanding bioidentical hormones, not synthetic hormones like we use in this country, they were using 24-hour urine tests. And so I learned this from Dr. Tara Hertog. So not only would I do blood tests on myself and all my clients.
So a 24-hour urinary test, right?
Yes.
And then this is where you basically just pee for 24 hours straight and multiple times.
You got to pee anyway, so you collect every pee.
And you collect it, and then they take it, and then they run a urine analysis sample on it. And basically, it's super in-depth. And what are some of the results you get from a 24-hour urine analysis test for people that don't know about it? And then why do we do this? And why do we do it many, many times in our life so you can identify, catch this, do not miss this point. You want to identify where you're at today with the results that you've been doing over the last 3 to 6 months of your life. These are where you're at, right? And by doing these tests periodically, by hitting these things quarterly, by literally seeing what the results are from every 90 days of your life, you're able to start benchmarking, okay, what activities have I been doing? What type of diet have I been on? What type of supplements have I been on? What type of medications have I been on? And what are the results I'm actually getting in my life every 90 days? And that's why these tests are so critical. There's urine analysis tests, there's stool sample testing, there's blood tests. And not just every doctor knows even what to order because they're not trained in it. Catch this. This is another critical factor. You've got to find people that are specialists, like really high-end specialists. Like you're not going to go to a BMW mechanic for your Ferrari. You're going to go to a Ferrari mechanic for your Ferrari. So you got to find the people that are very specialized so they know what type of test to order, what to look at on those tests, and then even how to digest that information in a usable format so you can actually change your life forever. Because a lot of the things that may be blocking you. You're tired, you're bloating, you have stomach issues, you're feeling lethargic. Like as you get older, you're getting more, all these things are starting to happen. Hormonal changes are happening. You're not able to focus. You're not having the level of peak energy you possibly could have in your life. And these tests can identify, oh, we just need to add vitamin D to you. Oh, well, if you're a guy getting older, you may need more testosterone, but there's ways of doing it in a healthy format, not just shots. And then that's it. They're not dealing with the estrogen levels. They're not dealing with all the other factors that can cause deep problems in your life. Catch this. Do not miss this point. So keep going, Nick. What is this urine analysis and what does it do for people?
What we've done is we've put together where they can just get the test kit sent to them online at delgadoprotocol.com. And from that, I've created online courses that literally cover each segment of every single hormone, every metabolite, and how do you balance that? Because think of hormones as a complex orchestra, and an orchestra has several instruments and they play beautifully when conducted properly. But out of balance, it sounds like just noise. Yeah. So you want that beautiful music of the body to resonate. And we have frequencies of the body. Our frequencies of the body, and now I've really gotten deep into energy medicine, helping kids with ADD, ADHD, Asperger's syndrome, autism. It's out of control. There's 1 in 80 boys now have this condition.
So what are you doing with the ADD, ADHD kids? Like what is that? And the Asperger's and the... What are you actually working with? Are you working on nutritional programs? Are you able to use these testings on them to identify specific things that could help improve their lives and change their behaviors, change the way they're functioning, change their cognitive functionality, right?
Yeah,
so
we have nonverbal kids, and the other tragedy that occurred in my life was when my son Lance was born. At birth, he had seemingly difficulty just functioning, and months later we thought he had hearing loss. We measured his hearing, it was fine, and then when he reached age a year and 2, he wasn't communicating like a normal child. And I never forgot, I called Dr. Mira Eisenstein and I said, my son, there's something wrong. And this was about 30 years ago. And he said, did he have any vaccines? And I said, no. And I said, but he did have an RH factor shot. Because his mom was RH positive and I was RH negative. And so the doctor at that time told us he had to have a shot in the womb. And I didn't think of it. I didn't realize, because none of my kids had ever been vaccinated.
What's a RH factor shot for the audience?
Well, from if you think of blood types, it's not really a blood type. It's an antigen, and if a child is born to parents, they both have Rh plus, there's compatibility. But if Rh plus and negative, sometimes the baby's at risk. So at that time, they had created a medicine called Rogaine, and it was loaded with mercury, and I didn't know it was. And so when they injected him, they banned it in 2003, but my son Lance was injected in 1986. And so when he was injected, there was massive amounts of mercury, which is kind of an
flooding
irritant.
his system, yes.
It's an irritant. The
time.
mercury was used at that time to kind of let this somehow Rh factor to balance. And in retrospect, it was the wrong thing to do because he was born with permanent brain damage that I've lived with trying to help him for 30 years.
Yeah.
And so, it taught me that, cognitive brain function is dependent on hormone balance, on toxins, on chemicals, on the diet. And so I've intervened with families who sometimes are troubled. They've taken their kids to every expert in the world, but because I've created a file that I've documented and followed for 30 years trying to solve this problem on Lance, that I didn't always get a chance to intervene. It's a long story. His mom just felt I was going the wrong direction and forbid me to intervene with stem cells or hormones or change. We did change his diet and made a big difference, and I hope someday soon to have access. But the point is, I've helped other families, and my goal is to help these children who are non-audible to gain back speech. We have evidence that through cognitive behavior and mimicking and matching and mirroring, there's a place in the brain that alerts and awakens that.
Correct.
And with the right energy medicine, PEMF, and alpha stems and balancing and reducing the anxiety. I have one kid, he was biting his hand bloody and hitting his head. He was in pain, gut pain, and he couldn't communicate, and he was in the hospital. They didn't think he'd live through the weekend, so the family, a very, very famous family, called me in, and I showed up at UCLA Mattel Hospital with my microscope and trying to understand, and I was surprised the emergency room let me in, but they were very wealthy, so they gave me carte blanche, and I talked with the specialists and the caretakers, and within 4 hours I'd figure out what was going on, and I had an energy mat to lay him on, an alpha stem to calm him down, and then we talked with the staff about changing his diet and certain things that I found in the microscope test, which again is an observation, not a diagnostic. And within 6 days, we had him out of the hospital.
Wow.
Within 3 months, he had gained back. He was thriving because he had dropped to 95 pounds, and he couldn't even eat. He was in so much gut pain. And all that was gone, and it was resolved, and to the point where the constipation was gone. He was blowing his mom kisses. He responded, and we did stem cell treatment. We did everything. I pulled everything out of the hat. Hormones, stem cells.
You did hormones, you did stem cell therapy.
Yes.
You did the PMF mats, almost like a Beamer pad.
Yes.
Like the Beamer pads, which are fantastic. You can buy these right now out there.
Beamer or PEMF, there's two different brands. I use QRS, there's 3 different brands.
There's a bunch of them, and they're all fantastic for stimulating the microvascular circulation of the body, which these pads, that's what these pads are for. They help stimulate microvascular circulation of the body, because only 60% of the bodies, or 40% of the body is actually applied from the heart, the pumping of the heart. The rest is like little pumping stations throughout your body that bring all the nutrients and bring all the oxygen in your body. Then we're talking about hormones, even for young people and even for women. You can balance your hormones. You may need testosterone if you're a woman. That's what people don't realize. So Dr. Nick changed nutrition. He started stimulating the blood flow of the body, right? And he started doing hormones and different, there's a huge array of things, lowering estrogen levels. There's a whole impact that we can do on multiple levels. So Nick, real quick, what are the results of a urine analysis? We go back and loop back in on that one. What can you see in that panel? So you see hormones. That's a big one, right? So one of the biggest tests for hormones is a 24-hour urine analysis. They're pretty good in-depth test. So you're looking at estrogen levels.
Well, 6 different estrogens,
multiple estrogens,
8 different androgens, multiple cortisol metabolites. We can look at thyroid, aldosterone, human growth hormone, because it's really the most accurate way to measure these complex array of over 27 different hormones and their metabolites. And we can see if they're out of balance, including progesterone and DHT.
You can actually apply something to that. You can actually help change that. And that's through supplementation?
Yes, supplementation, maybe bioidentical hormone intervention, energy medicine, changes in lifestyle, diet, stress management, sleep patterns. From that, but also I don't just depend on the urine test. I look at the saliva for cortisol level.
We have saliva?
Morning, midday, afternoon, and evening.
So saliva, can you test cortisol, which is also the adrenal testing, right?
Yeah.
So explain that. It actually, let's hold off on that one. We'll do a whole thing on just adrenals and how to focus on that today, because that's one of the key things of starting this whole process of like focusing on the adrenals first, getting the energy of the body just working. So, so when you do that urine analysis, like let's go to supplementation real quick, and then we can wrap this show up for the day. I don't want to eat up all your day on your Saturday, but Dr. Nick, you've created, I think currently you have like 20 something active products currently on the market right now. If you go to Delgado Protocol, you can actually see all of Nick's products that he actually has out there. There's stuff that you can literally take every day. There's the vegan protein powders, which are amazing. There's all these NeuroInsight, which is great for the brain. There's Estroblock. If you have acne, or if you have just estrogen dominance issues, a lot of men get it where they started getting like almost like male breasts, man boobs, basically. These are fantastic products. And Nick spent his entire life culminating through all this information. Nick spent literally 40 years of his life and these massive tragedies that drove him. You catch his people, do not miss this. Very few people in the world take all these tragedies and then study and keep applying and work with. I've seen Nick literally throughout a day of like just a morning 4 or 5 hour segment, do a radio show, hop on a call with somebody about nutrition, talk to 2 people in my sphere about their nutrition, and then go and start saying, oh, you gotta listen to this book on this because I'm listening to this and here's on my phone. And he's literally dove in at this level of depth. Not many people spend the thousands, I mean literally thousands and thousands of hours working with clients to truly get this level of knowledge. So as he's speaking, catch these points and receive this. And then 2, look at these products if you get an opportunity. Like the depth and breadth of these products is massive. So how does someone choose, I guess one of the questions, like, you know, which products to take of yours? Because there's just millions of nutritional products out there right now, and even choosing what products to take. So they have to work with if they can't get access to you, right? Let's say there's a functional medicine doctors that are super high end now, right? There's a lot of people that are super high end functional medicine doctors out there in the network. There's guys that are like top end nutritionists that are out there that you've got to find them for your area and keep searching the best of the best out there. Make sure they're doing all of this, you know, and then, you know, Dr. Nick's products are absolutely amazing. So if you want to talk, like, how does someone actually, if they can't get access to you, like, how do they start this journey discovering what to take, when to take it, who to work with, like, and let's wrap it up like that in like the next, like, we'll wrap this up in the next 3 to 5 minutes here right now. So if you could give any advice to where they start in this journey of what supplements to take, what testing, how do I find a doctor that's not gonna just stab me with testosterone if I'm a man, or a woman that say, oh, you just need, you know, progesterone and that's it, like that solves it all. Like, oh, just take some regular multivitamins, you'll be fine. And, you know, just eat a balanced, healthy diet. You know, like where do you go in this journey, I guess?
I think humbly we all have to accept that the human body is a rather complex biochemical life force. And so when we understand that, I think the best place to start is to educate, and then make your decisions. And that's why our online courses were developed, because there's over 50 segments in Acne Bootcamp alone.
And it's cheap right now. You're doing like $17, $27 or
$25 to $197.
Super
our
cheap.
new online course for doctors on microscopy, which I've spent 40 years studying and researching with Dr. Anil Banischek. He's now integrated with our course. He's had 20 years experience.
So you've got a course online, like I think I just saw it recently. So there's one that's like a couple $100, and it's like literally a ton of videos and content, and basically for you to do self-study on yourself. Because catch this, and I love this point, and I'm glad you just brought that up. The best thing you can ever do is be your own doctor. Like, be your own best advocate. Like, Nick's brilliant in a lot of ways, but you're only going to get access to Nick right now in his courses. You're going to meet a functional medicine doctor that may be an expert in hormones but miss out the nutrition side. You may work with a nutritionist that's a guru in nutrition but misses out on hormones. You may work with someone that's super high end with stem cell therapy or supplements. And there's a lot of people that are experts, but to start pulling it in for you, you've got to become your advocate. You've got to start studying what are the effects you're getting? What are the true results you're getting? Are you really running tests to kind of analyze, okay, I'm doing these supplements, what are the results? I'm doing this nutrition program, what are the results? I'm doing this type of hormone replacement therapy, what are the results? I'm doing all these other things out there, whatever it may be for you. You're doing the PMF mats. You're like, am I getting more blood flow? Am I getting more blockages? We just literally had someone in our company have a heart attack with 80% of their blocked arteries, like literally 7 days ago. And this is a woman in her 50s that's healthy and energized and felt great. And all of a sudden, bam, smack, it just hit. And so doing these things matter. Like if you care about yourself, if you care about your families, like how do I get this course actually, Nick, right now? And I want to promote this because it's fantastic content and you've got to take this time. Like it's up to you. If you want to live the life you're called to, if you want to do all that you want to do, go to the places, have the family you want, build the company you want, manifest a life that's in your mind, this dream that you have for your life that says, man, I want to see these things. I want to go to Egypt. I want to raise these amazing kids. I want to have this impactful, passionate, loving marriage. I want to have where you can have sex and you can have that passion and then also you want to travel and build these companies and impact lives. If you have this calling in your life and you feel you want to do something great, the first thing you've got to deal with is your health. Like if that does not exist, everything else goes to crap in your life. And so you've got to be your best advocate. So Nick, how do I get a hold of this course?
Great. You know, Tony Robbins, as you know, teaches that the hierarchy of values predicts everything in your life. You could have all the money in the world, all the success, and yet you're overworked, you're fatigued, you're overweight. And he says value health high. Put it at the highest level because without health, your relationship will fall apart, your sexual life will fall apart, your business may falter, you may die prematurely and never manifest your dreams. So that's where I came to. I created these online courses. They're all anyway from an hour-and-a-half course to a 50-segment, 10-hour course, and you can get certified in each of these areas and really have that pride that you really have mastered this course because I literally have take together the best experts in the world in each of the respective areas and put it together in such a palatable course. My online library,
how do we get it?
They go to delgadoprotocol.com and you just scroll down to online courses and choose which course all the way, every course you can enroll in.
So right now there's delgadoprotocol.com. You go to this website, scroll down it, and you can see all the different courses. Like even if you just choose one to start out with, you can actually do this on your phone, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And can you actually listen to these on your phone or download anything or just log into a membership site?
We have both a video and an MP3. So if they just want to listen while they're going about their day or they're maybe in the middle of their workout and they want to listen, they can't watch the video.
It's like once they log in.
Once a year they can re-up their membership for that particular course. And like I said, the membership courses are all the way from $25 to $197. Some of the advanced courses for doctors are a little bit more. But we're working on getting CME credits for the doctors where they can actually get this online training. We expect that to happen this month. So it's really exciting times because never in the history of mankind could you offer this much information. And I know it's overwhelming with Google and you search and you try and understand things. Just trust me on this. 40 years of experience with the top experts in the world who have collaborated on this process. We probably invested over $4 million to put these courses together. So they're selling like hotcakes. We just launched them, didn't even announce them except on a podcast last week, and people are just buying them up because they have a full year to master the course. At the end of the year, they can decide, do they want to renew it again for another year? And it's the enrollment is just dirt cheap. I mean, we didn't want to price it so it's so high that no one could touch it. Kids with acne, guys with sexual dysfunction.
$50,000, $100,000, $250,000 for this much information, this much courses at this level of depth people are paying. And catch this is 40 years of information working with the top experts and saying, and condensing this stuff and saying, okay, what is the essence of what you really need to know? Because catch this, most people right now are getting their nutritional information from some freaking staff writer at some magazine. They're having some writer that doesn't know anything about health or nutrition, or some person that's like a 20-something-year-old that's got a great body that's saying, oh, this is what you should eat, this is how you should live, and they're selling you a ton of crap out there. And like the problem is they're only knowing from their limited world of knowledge. They're not working with the top experts in the full spectrum, the full 360-degree angle of saying, okay, this one human being from all levels of the sphere. So Nick, thank you so much for coming.
By the way, Troy, you're an accomplished surfer. I love going out surfing with you.
Yes.
But you've seen me do vertical lifts, and I offer a $1,000 challenge any day of the week. Any athlete, CrossFit, any guy who thinks he can outlift me. It's not a bragging thing, but you take dumbbells, curl and press. We'll use 30, 35, 45-pound dumbbells, and I'll outlift you any day of the week, just to prove the point that what I'm teaching in a guy 63 years old, I can outlift you if you're 20, 30 years old. You're a pro athlete. I beat pros all the time, and they're just blown away. How in the world do you have that much strength
And this
endurance?
is literally going like this with the weights, with 45 pounds. Like, it's crazy.
They'll say, well, there's a little bit of swing when they watch my world record if they just type in Nick Delgado world record or $1,000 challenge. But the reality is, when you get to here and you have to lift it overhead, you're completely against gravity, and you'll separate the men from the boys. So
I've watched him. He's dominating. He holds world records and the most amount of weight lifted in an hour with like curl press thing. And it's crazy watching it. There's videos online if you want to Google it. But we have to wrap up today, Nick. Thank you so much for being on the show today. And please check out DelgadoProtocol.com. So thank you very much, Nick. And thank you for watching the Fireside Chats. We have more episodes. We'll constantly be broadcasting live to give out the best information we can to help you improve your body, your being, your balance, and your business and your life. So thank you for watching, folks. Thank you.